Welcome, jesters. The gotcha question used to be, how much is a gallon of milk? Or, do you want grandma eating dog food? Social Security. I think they're going to try and make, would you support military action in Taiwan a question this upcoming midterm season because they don't have anything else. However, I think the big question, the big gotcha question, especially for Republicans, is going to be, do you have a birth certificate? Or do you know how to get a birth certificate? And it's going to go both ways. However, this should be our question. So Republican candidates out there, this is how you stump your Democrat opponent, because they are making their whole life right now in opposition to the SAVE Act, the notion that there are large swaths of Americans, particularly minorities, Democrats believe, who are simply incapable of getting proper documentation. They are not capable of getting a birth certificate or a passport or other forms of ID. Well, this is how you get them. So be ready when you're doing interviews, especially in debates. You ask them, or you demand the press ask them, do you have your birth certificate? And then follow on with, do you know how to get your birth certificate? And watch them haw, try and avoid the question, come up with every excuse in the book as to why they do not have a birth certificate. We even have politicians, very prominent politicians, throwing themselves on the altar of this, can't get a birth certificate thing. Bernie, who's been in politics for, 12 decades, apparently doesn't know how to get a copy of his birth certificate. Gavin Newsom, did he just say that he doesn't know how to get a copy of his birth certificate? Or did he just say he can't read? I'm not really sure. Either way. And then you had the ladies on The View, right, who apparently think it's incredibly difficult for married women to figure out how to get a copy of their birth certificate and marriage license. Yeah, they actually believe this, by the way. Although we do know 100% that both Joy and Whoopi they all have passports. Come on, who are we kidding? We know they all have passports. How else are they going to go to Italy? Anyway, so Republicans, yes, this is your gotcha question for your Democrat opponents. Just put them on the spot. What are they going to say? They're going to try and come up with every excuse, but there you go. The ads will write themselves. However, I'm just going to warn you, you have to be able to answer this question. The one question you have to be able to answer this campaign season is, do you have your birth certificate and do you know how to get one? Now, here's the thing. You only need to know how to get 2 birth certificates, or maybe just one. Yours and your opponent's. That's it. Right here in Florida, it's pretty simple. You just contact the Florida Department of Health Office or Bureau of Vital Statistics. You fill out a form. You pay your $20, a very reasonable $20, and you get a copy of your birth certificate. It would also be very helpful to know how to get a copy of their birth certificate. So you have to know where they're born. Maybe do a little bit of research, find out which office, what department, what government bureaucracy provides birth certificates so you can inform them. Wouldn't that be delicious? If you ask them this question and they're like, I have no idea how to get a birth certificate. And you simply, you just contact the Ohio Department of Vital Statistics. Here you go. What, you need the website? I have the phone number. Right? That would be delicious. Anyway. Okay. However, they probably will try and get you on one edge case, which honestly I don't think is the thing. Right? And that is somebody who literally has no identification. None whatsoever. Never had any identification. Now, even in Florida, even in evil voter restrictive Florida, you can still get a copy of a birth certificate without an existing photo ID. You just have to provide other records. It's not that difficult. But I'm going to say this. If you are a person, or if you know a person that is in this situation, they have bigger issues to overcome. And maybe help them do that. But I will say this. You can throw it back in their face still. If they find this mythical citizen who has no identification whatsoever, doesn't have any identification at all, never had any identification. Oh, and by the way, in nearly every state, certainly in Florida, you can just ask for a duplicate copy of your driver's license. You don't need to prove anything. You just go online and pay the fee, and they literally send you a new copy of your ID. It's not that hard. But you just tell your opponent, your Democrat opponent, if you can find this mythical citizen with no identification at all, then you will arrange for the attorney to go and appear before a court to get them a copy of their birth certificate and an ID. Because that is another way to do it. Put that challenge today. If they find the citizen, it has to be a citizen, you will arrange for the attorney who will take care of that. Not a problem at all. Right? Because well, first of all, they're not gonna find anyone like this. I honestly don't think people like this really exist in numbers big enough to have insecure elections over. And like I said before, if they are actually in this situation, the very few people that literally have no life documentation, yeah, it's not worth risking our elections for. I know it might be harsh, but you know I'm right.